Okay, it's 12:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I know we promised a 30-minute lunch and learn webinar, so I want to go ahead and kick that off. So I'm Carissa Chuka. I'm with Results Repeat, and thank you for joining our inaugural lunch and learn. Today, our CEO and founder, Ellen Thompson, is going to be walking you through the basics of Google Analytics without going down the rabbit hole. So if you join this workshop, you're probably familiar with Results Repeat already, but in case this is our first time meeting, welcome. We are a digital marketing agency focused on designing and developing websites, search engine optimization, and digital advertising. Today's workshop is really for people who have Google Analytics, but aren't really sure how to use it. If you're not sure that you even have Google Analytics, or you aren't sure how to log in to Google Analytics or set it up, just reach out to me after this webinar and maybe we can help you get started. But this may still be valuable to you, so stick around. But if you feel like you're a couple steps back, then that's okay too. We can help you out later. And there's a few final pieces of housekeeping. We're going to send the recording of this webinar around to all of you, so feel free to just sit back, take in the information. Don't feel like you have to take a lot of notes. So look out for that in your email. We're also going to be hosting another lunch and learn next week, and then 2 more after that. So next week, we're going to focus on Google My Business, which is essential for your business online and what you need to do with it, how to get that set up. And you can visit our Facebook page to register for that. And then last thing, everybody here is muted, and that's just to make it easier for the host to present and for us to hear what Ellen has to say. But we do hope to have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you have any questions, what we would like you to do is pop them into the chat, and then we will address those at the end of the lunch and learn session. So without any further ado, here's Ellen.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming to our first Lunch and Learn, and thanks to Hillary and Carissa for putting this together. So we wanted to start off with a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I think one of the most useful things that you can master as you try to make sense of your digital marketing. So the topic today is how to review Google Analytics results without going into the rabbit hole. And what I mean by that is, we are on Facebook. I'm Facebook friends with some of you. And I don't know about you, but I start, sitting on the couch and going through Facebook, and 45 minutes has passed and I don't know where the time has gone. And so it's really easy to go into Google Analytics and kind of get lost. So wanted to provide some structure for you to hit Google Analytics and use it in a really efficient way so that it can find its way into your regular monthly or weekly reviews of your marketing. So without further ado, I am gonna click and make us go forward as soon as I can find my mouse, which has decided to disappear. There we go. So I'm Ellen Thompson. I'm the founder of Results Repeat, and I like to joke to say that I was born and raised to love marketing analytics. So I started my career in business school, in a business school that really emphasizes numbers. I've had a number of companies in the marketing space, and I've always been really focused on analytics. I even maintain my professional certifications in some of the Google products, including Google Analytics. So this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. So why this topic? Well, Google Analytics is overwhelming. It's just, there's a lot of data there. It's hard to know where to start. And so again, I'm not presenting a deep dive into Google Analytics. I'm recognizing people who are marketers or business owners and are really busy and basically just ignore Google Analytics because it's a lot of work and they don't know where to get started. In fact, this is crazy, but 42% of business owners never look at their analytics, and that's a disaster. So think about having a vegetable garden, and imagine that you're watering your garden and you're not keeping your eyes open. So you don't know if there's enough water, you don't know if your vegetables are parched. So again, the approach here is just to give you a strategy to use Google Analytics really effectively. And without further ado, we're going to get into that. So here is what we're going to do: is cover my 5-step process to review Google Analytics. And first I talk about checking user behavior, just overall 30,000 feet user behavior. Then I like to see where my traffic is coming from. I like to see what pages people are going to. I like to see which pages brought people to the website. And I like to review conversions, which is where the rubber meets the road. So as I go through this, I've taken screenshots of an actual Google Analytics account And what I'm going to do is walk through the steps to get into each of the screens where I see this data. And so there's going to be something that's more tactical in terms of getting in there and more strategic, because I'm going to walk you through how I interpret what I see on the screen. So it's really a minute to kind of navigate there and a minute to think about it. And then I'll talk about what I might think to do or change in my marketing as a result of what I see there. So I hope that's helpful to everybody. This should take about 20 minutes and we'll have time for Q&A as long as you guys need. So without further ado, first I check overall user behavior. So as Carissa said, this is assuming that you have Google Analytics, you log into Google Analytics and you click audience overview. And we will, in addition to sending around this recording, be happy to send the PowerPoint deck so you can see the screenshots and you can also see the summary, which has all of the steps. So when I go into audience overview, I'm trying to see how many people are coming to this site, how long are they there, what's the bounce rate, which basically means how many people come to the website and leave right away. But just in context, this isn't very helpful. So what I want to do is I want to compare this information to either the week before or the week year over year. And so in the upper right-hand corner, I can choose the date range and I can choose to compare it either to the previous period, which in this case is the previous week, but I can also look and do previous period in the same, in the year. So I could look at 2019 data for the same week, or I can look at week over week data. So in this example, I'm looking at week over week. So this is a site for a business that's very new, doesn't have a lot of traffic. So there's no context whether this is good or bad unless I'm comparing. So that's why I like to look, and generally speaking, I will pop in, look week over week, and also look year over year. So I know that some of our apartment community clients are on this call. Things are very seasonal in every business. And so sometimes if you compare to the previous period, you know, if you look at the previous period now, you look like you're a genius because everything is going up, but it gets to be November and you really are more concerned about that year over year. What happened last November, traffic is invariably going to go down. Same thing if you're in retail and it's December, you expect for retail to be up. So it's really about measuring things in context, and I always keep that in mind. So moving along, this shows us our trends. You know, I hit okay, and here I see in the blue line graph is showing me what happened this week, and the orange is showing the week prior. And so I can see that this was a really good week. There was a good increase in users, and also a new increase in new users. So new user is basically new person. So this is my site. If I go there 5 times, that's me going there 5 sessions, but I'm just one user. So it's kind of interesting to know what your repeat visitors look like versus your new users. And I also can see how long people are staying here. I'm not that focused on that. I just am looking at, are my users growing? Are they shrinking? So this would make me pretty happy to see. And again, there are people working on this site, so we're going to have repeat users. They may not be customers coming back. Again, if you have a business where people come and conduct business who are your customers, you might see that more of your traffic are not new visitors, but are those repeat customers. So after I get that 30,000 foot view, I want to dive down. And my very favorite thing to do is to see where my traffic is coming from. And I can see that under acquisition overview. So Google rolls up different sources to be in different, it kind of categorizes things. So direct means they're coming directly to the site. Organic means you're showing up for free in tools like Google or Bing or Yahoo. Social, coming from social networks. Paid search coming from Google paid, Microsoft paid search, and referral coming from third-party sites. So what I really focus on here is I can see that organic search is up quite a bit. So again, direct traffic can be people working on the site, but I can see that, you know, organic search is up, and that is something that makes me pretty happy. I can see that social and referral are down, but they're kind of smaller numbers, so I'm not going to read too much into that. But again, what I see here is a lot of people are coming directly to the site, and a lot of people are coming in through organic search. The next thing I want to do is I want to see exactly which source and medium people are coming from. So again, Google rolls up that data for acquisition overview, and that doesn't give me the nuance I need. What sites are referring traffic? So under acquisition, all traffic, source medium, I can see the source, which was usually the website. If you're doing email marketing, it might be your email newsletter. I can see the medium, which is organic or a referral. We can do a class on UTM parameters and get deep into this. But if it's coming from organic or you haven't set up any source in mediums, it just is going to dump in with a default. But if you're working with an agency and doing social posts or doing email marketing, you can really control what that source and medium is and inform Google Analytics. But what I see here is, again, organic traffic is up, and I can see that my referral traffic is coming from LinkedIn. And I know that I'm doing outreach on LinkedIn. I'm trying to reach customers on LinkedIn. So I am seeing that LinkedIn work is turning into referral traffic. So again, this source medium lets me be a little more granular in terms of where my traffic is coming from. And what I'm really looking to see is all that work on LinkedIn, is it paying off? And I'm at least getting some people to the site. So the next thing I like to do is I like to see where people are going. So now I know how they're getting into the site, but what pages matter, right? So I click on behavior and site content, then all pages. So the slash, which you see under 1, is your homepage. And for most sites, but not all sites, I would expect to be that would be the most traffic. If you're doing any kind of paid promotions, if you're not using a landing page, you're bringing all your traffic there. If you've got links on social media or other advertising, you're bringing them to the homepage. So typically that's where we see the most traffic. There are exceptions, but 95% of the case, I'd expect that. So that's not that interesting, but what is interesting is the number 2, which was 3 tools to help you thrive in a virtual environment. So I mentioned that I was doing some LinkedIn work, and what I was doing specifically was reaching out to other local business owners. And again, given everything that's going on, we've been a virtual company for a long time. Instead of trying to sell people stuff, I'm saying, hey, I'm another local business leader. This is an article I wrote about how we've survived as a virtual company for 18 years. I thought you would like it. And so people are liking it. We've had 28 unique views, which means I have 28 people coming to look at this post. And I have people on that page an average of 2 minutes and 39 seconds. So again, that's just reinforcing that strategy is working. And that means I'll continue to use that post. And then if I look further down, I see my features page, and then setting up Google Tag Manager to track events, which is a blog post, are also pretty popular. So what matters here is, I think that I always say that websites are living, breathing things. If you have a website that's been around for a while and you're looking to make a small investment in tuning it up, and you don't have unlimited money to redo the site, you can look and see which pages are doing the best. And those are the pages that you can have meaningful impact. If somebody's going to a page once, if you make changes, it is not going to be that great. But if I make changes to my homepage, that could have a much bigger impact in terms of this particular business. So again, looking at what pages people are visiting helps me figure out where to invest my energy, but also lets me double check if other tactics that are driving folks to those pages are working. So moving right along, I also like to see where people entered the site. So some people, when we start working with them, think that just focus on the homepage and everybody's coming into the homepage. It's not the case. So we can see here that in the last week, we had 41 people coming into the homepage, but we had 24 people coming into those 3 tools to help you thrive in a virtual environment blog post. And we had 13 people coming in to setting up Google Tag Manager to track events. And then we had 12 people come in to the blog post target cost per lead. So these are blog posts that were written as part of an SEO strategy to get people to come into the site, with the target cost per lead article being an interesting example. So one of the things that we try to work people through is how much can you afford to pay for a lead. It's really important when you're figuring out what advertising you can afford to do. So I actually wrote a very long blog post, and there's a cost per lead calculator there that helps you figure out what your cost per lead what you can afford. And it's showing up on the first page of Google results when people type in cost per lead calculator. So it's pretty cool. And as I always like to say, SEO can be the gift that keeps giving. So when I look at this, I say, great, I got another 12 folks into that site organically. That's pretty cool. So again, liking to see what pages people are looking at, but where are they coming into the site? What pages are helping build organic traffic? And then the next thing that I like to do is review conversions. So it's great to show up in the search engines. It's great to get traffic. It's great that people are visiting these pages. But the rubber meets the road when people do things on your website that you want. That means they call you, they contact you through your contact form, they chat. In the case of this business, which is pretty new, there aren't a lot of conversions in terms of leads. So we're also looking to track people who are looking at the pricing table and clicking the pricing table. So you have a lot of control in Google what conversions you want to set up. I focus with an established business on things that are leads, but with other business, sometimes we want to track things that are more top of the funnel, meaning things that are building awareness but aren't really a lead yet. So if you were a B2B business and you were selling software that was really expensive, people might not be ready to just rush and get in touch with you. They might want to download a white paper. They might want to sign up for your newsletter. And so in a case when you're selling really expensive products, it might be helpful to take some of those top of funnel conversions and measure them so you can see what's getting people into your database. So in this case, I'm blending the conversions, and it's, again, if you don't understand what goal completions are and setting up conversions in Google Analytics, your website development company can help you, and we can help you too if you need help. So conversions are where the rubber meets the road. If I have 5 visits to this website, but I have 5 sales, that's better than having 100 visits to the website and no sales, right? So ultimately we care about conversions. So scroll down to the bottom of the conversion page, which is under conversions, goals, overview. And this lets me see where those conversions happened. So I can see, I'm again tracking what's happening on that pricing page. So that's why that's first. But the contact page is also creating some goal completions for me. And then if I click on source medium, which is right under the goal completion location, this is also one of my favorite screens. I want to see which source and mediums, which sites, and is it paid or is it organic? What's delivering value? Which of my advertising is working? And so for many of us, the thing that's going to work the best is SEO, getting organic Google traffic, and that's absolutely the case here. I also have a conversion from LinkedIn at the bottom, and I happen to know that that was a lead and I had a demo, and that makes me happy. So again, just reinforces for me that I need to keep on doing what I'm doing. I need to continue to build blog posts and build traffic through organic, and that LinkedIn strategy is working. So again, we'll pass this PowerPoint deck around, but my step-by-step cheat sheet is here. These are all the steps that I've taken to actually get into each of these screens. And just a couple more tips as we're going through. So again, in that upper right-hand corner, I can change the date range, and that way I can compare either to the previous period, which could be the week or a month, or the previous year in the same time zone. Also, when you're going through and looking at, say, the pages, you can click the column headers to sort by different metrics. So for instance, you might want to sort and see what pages have a really high bounce rate, so that maybe you can fix those pages, or maybe the ones that have a really low bounce rate, and see what you're doing right on those pages. And then at the top of the screen, when you're in goals, I was showing you all the goals. So let's suppose I wanted to see which sites were sending those contact form completions, those real leads. I can adjust at the top upper left-hand corner. You can actually just drill down and see one goal at a time. And again, just click. Remember, if you're looking at conversions, the default screen is showing you where the conversions happened. It's more interesting to see where they came from, and I clicked source medium to do that, to see which advertising was working. So as we promised, this was exactly 20 minutes. I couldn't have asked to do that more quickly. So I'm going to stop my share, and let's take some questions. So Carissa, do we have any questions in the chat room?
Actually, I believe Carissa may have lost power. So
Yeah, it's really crazy here. It just started, it got very dark in my apartment. So that's why I look like a ghost here. So I'm gonna turn, wow, it's like freaky. All right, well, I'll look in the chat. Hold on one second while I turn on my light, since normally the natural light is sufficient, but wow. Okay, so let's look at chat.
if it's easier, I can read them too. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
sure. It's yeah, it's like raining cats and dogs. So I hopefully will not lose, I'm on battery power, so hopefully my internet will not go down. Anyway.
All right, so our first question is, can you explain how knowing which pages are improving or underperforming can help to improve overall performance?
Great. So one of the things that we're really focused on as a business is understanding conversion rate optimization. So sometimes you can make small changes to a page that will make people more likely to stay on your site. So we were looking at actually a competitor page today, and they used exactly the same text to describe their SEO services and their Google ad services. So if I were looking at Google Analytics, I might notice that their SEO services page had poor metrics, and it's because the content's wrong. So when you see a bounce rate that's disproportionately high, you can say to yourself, why as a user am I not staying on this site? If people aren't staying on the page a long time, why, right? What changes can you make? And there is this new science of conversion rate optimization where you can systemically make changes to your website and test them in an A/B environment to see, can you get better performance by, I'll give you an example. We had a customer where we've all been doing virtual tours in the multifamily world, and we changed it from apply now, the button on their homepage above the fold, to from apply now to view virtual tour. And we doubled the number of people who clicked it, because most people come to the site are not ready to apply, but they are ready to view a virtual tour. So if you see those metrics, you just it makes you stop and say, okay, what is it about this page that's not working for my audience? And put yourself in your audience's shoes.
That actually leads into a question that Kelly had about bounce rate. She asks, when should you be concerned about bounce rate? I see some high bounce rates, but maybe that's okay because they read the article and got what they wanted before leaving.
Yeah, so the bounce rates are real. I think that you need to look at the bounce rate in context of the source and medium. So what I also know about the high bounce rate with that article is my LinkedIn post is what my LinkedIn posts are really to build LinkedIn followers. So my goal there was to get them to follow me and think I'm legit. And if they come to the website and they read the article, that's great. I just am trying to build a relationship with them. With organic, you generally want to see organic bounce rate lower than paid. If you start doing display advertising or you do Facebook advertising, you could see a really high bounce rate. But if you set up your campaigns right, you can see within your Google ads or your Facebook, are there any things that have a lower bounce rate? So certain things lend themselves to a high bounce rate. Again, display advertising can have a huge bounce rate. And that's why you really need to focus on, over time, can you lower the bounce rate? And are you still seeing the conversions despite the bounce rate? Because you could have a 90% bounce rate on display and still have that outperform your paid search, which might have a 50% bounce rate. So it's just looking in context and just trying to maximize it within that particular source and medium.
Sandy had a quick question about your LinkedIn posts. Are you boosting the posts?
No, so what I'm working on right now is I'm focused on, so I have done LinkedIn advertising for Jess, and the LinkedIn advertising is really expensive. I was paying between $10 and $12 per click, and I wasn't really getting far. And I noticed that when I do a lot of blog writing, and I do posts, and I noticed that I was getting, basically if I wrote 5 blog posts, I was getting the same exposure as doing the paid advertising campaign. So I am building my following, and then I'm just posting organically. I'm not paying to boost the posts. I have tried some paid stuff, and it just, I don't understand why it didn't work. I think LinkedIn hasn't quite figured out their advertising platform. It's just the minimums for clicks are really expensive. And if I'm targeting small business owners, it's hard to make a living when you're selling a product that's less than $100 and it's $10 to $12 click. So.
Alexandra asks, how often do you recommend checking the results, and how long does it take for SEO results to show in your numbers?
So in terms of how often you check, so at the very least once a month, and there are some tools, including Jess, that can push that data to your email. So it's just in your email, it takes less time. In terms of how long does it take to show SEO results, it really depends on how much SEO you've done before. So when we work with a customer that has a lot of areas of improvement, we can show some lift right away. So they're sort of the leading indicators are in Search Console. So Search Console is another free tool, and we should definitely do a seminar on Search Console because I love Search Console. It shows you what keywords you're showing up for in the search engine results and which ones you're getting clicks from. It's not complete. It typically shows you like 65 to 70% of the data. You know, if people have blocked privacy, it's not going to show you the data, but we can very quickly start to see an increase in the number of keywords people are showing up for, an increase in clicks. Then it has to trickle down to leads. So if you haven't done much SEO, or the SEO provider you had wasn't very good, we can see that improvement in Search Console almost instantly. And then it's a matter of, you know, if you've got a closed rate of 60 days, you really want to start seeing those leads turn into the sale. So if you've been working with a provider and they were decent, it could take a little longer to show results. And it really depends on the strategy. And one of the things that's really important, and why it's important to focus on conversions and measuring them, is you can increase traffic incrementally, but you can increase the conversion rate. So a lot of folks have SEO strategies that bring a lot of traffic to the site, but it's not very targeted. And so in those cases, you could actually keep the traffic the same, but you can still double conversions by getting the right traffic to the site. So if you're hiring an SEO person, it's ask them for an honest assessment, given your situation, how long should it be before you see some results. But I will also tell you, I pulled the numbers yesterday, we've been working with one customer since 2014, and their traffic went up quite a bit the first year. It's gone up 240% over time. It bounced around a little bit, but it has this nice trajectory. If we do 2020, even in the middle of all this, back to 2014, they're up. And the other thing that's important to note is that, you know, SEO changes. We just had a big algorithm change in May that really changed things. Again, I'm using a lot of apartment analogies because I know we have a lot of folks in that world. So we compete against all sorts of online directories, and you can see a huge drop because somebody is ranking for your business name ahead of you. And sometimes the SEO results somebody can show is just by getting you to appear before those lists for your own name. So it's complicated, but I think it's a good question to ask and get sort of like a context with that person. But SEO is kind of like the long game, but I call it the gift that keeps giving, because once you have the traffic, it becomes like a virtuous cycle, as opposed to paid, where you're buying the clicks and they're kind of gone. So that's a very long answer to say sometimes you can see an immediate result, and sometimes it takes a little longer. It depends on the condition of your SEO before you start.
That's great. It looks like we're right at our time limit of 12:30. So in order to respect everybody's time, if you need to drop off, that's totally fine. We did have one more question if you feel like taking it, Ellen.
Absolutely.
If I have a specific page that I'm keeping a close eye on and I see that traffic is up, yay, how can I find out if traffic to that page is coming more from Google or my social channels?
So in terms of landing pages, that's kind of advanced. You can filter your pages and see which sources are leading to it. We can get that answer back to you. Who asked the question, just so we can make sure we follow up with them.
Lauren did.
Okay, Lauren, we'll get back to you with exactly how to do that. You just have to set up a filter, so a little beyond the basics.
Do we have any other last minute questions quick in the chat?
And also, if you want to unmute, and if there's anything you want to add about, how you handle Google Analytics, that's great. We can run a little over. If anybody wants to drop off, that's great. But anybody want to unmute and share anything? Okay, David.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you were saying about conversion rate optimization. And that example you gave about changing the apply button and changing the text, it really did make a huge difference in what people were looking at. And how many people were converting. And it's little things like that. It could be the color of the button, or it could be something like buy now as opposed to purchase our products, or it could be get started opposed to learn more. So, the conversion rate optimization really helps you test that and have solid data on which works better. It's an absolutely important feature of this, so you can maximize what traffic you're already getting.
Thanks, David. Anybody else want to jump into the conversation?
I can add a little bit of experience to the conversation because, Ellen, as you know, with my company, I just went through a pretty long project as far as redesigning our entire website. When I first started with the company back in October, our bounce rate across the board was upwards of about 80%. So, a lot of times you have to kind of take your marketer hat off and just put yourself in that consumer seat. And if the experience that you are experiencing, driving through your website, if it's difficult to find information, if you find like the information is not speaking to you and it's not relevant, people are going to bounce off. So really focusing on that strategy and making sure that what you have to say is clear, it's concise, and it's easy to find. And I'm actually in Google Analytics on my other monitor, and my bounce rate is less than 15% now across the board for all of my communities. So it's just making small changes to make sure that you're optimizing the experience that your customers are getting while they're on your site.
Thanks, Christine. That was an awesome example. Anybody else want to, any final words from anyone? Okay, well, it looks like we have lost Carissa. We are in the middle of this massive thunderstorm here, but thank you so much for joining us. As Carissa said, this is the first of a 4-week learning series, so we hope that you can join us next Wednesday and learn about Google My Business. So again, thanks so much, and reach out if there's anything we can do for you.